He's back. Rayful Edmond, the name that once held sway over DC's underworld, is back on the streets. His return has sent ripples through the community. A name that once struck fear now echoes once more. After decades behind bars, the notorious drug lord has been released to a halfway house right here in the heart of the city he once held captive. His release marks a significant moment, not just for him, but for the entire community that remembers his reign. It's a move that has stirred up a hornet's nest of emotions, fear, anger, and a chilling sense of déjà vu. The community is on edge, with many wondering what his presence will mean for the future. Edmonds was more than just a criminal. He was a symbol, a boogeyman whispered about in hushed tones. His influence was felt far and wide, and his actions left a lasting impact on the city. For many, his release feels like a reopening of old wounds, a stark reminder of a time when crack cocaine ravaged our streets and our city seemed to teeter on the brink. The scars of that era are still visible, and the fear of history repeating itself looms large. The community watches and waits, uncertain of what the future holds with Rayful Edmonds back on the streets. To understand the impact of Edmonds' release, we have to go back. We need to revisit a time when the city was on the brink of collapse. Back to the 1980s, when crack cocaine exploded onto the scene, transforming neighborhoods overnight. Edmonds, young and ruthlessly ambitious, seized the opportunity. He saw the chaos as a ladder to climb, a way to rise above the rest. He built an empire on addiction, flooding the city with drugs and reaping the profits in blood and misery. His operations were vast, reaching every corner of the city. His gang, notorious for its violence and reach, held entire neighborhoods hostage. Fear and intimidation were their tools of control. The police seemed powerless to stop him. Despite their efforts, Edmonds always seemed one step ahead, evading capture and continuing his reign. Edmonds, with his flamboyant style and calculated brutality, became a legend, a figure both feared and oddly respected in the underworld. His name became synonymous with the chaos that gripped our city, a dark chapter in our history that still haunts us today. The human cost of Edmonds' reign is immeasurable. Thousands of lives destroyed by addiction, families torn apart by violence, and a generation scarred by the trauma of it all. The streets bore witness to the carnage, open-air drug markets, the constant wail of sirens, and the ever-present threat of violence. But the damage ran deeper than the physical scars. Edmonds' empire eroded the very fabric of our community, breeding fear, distrust, and a sense of hopelessness that lingered long after he was put away. A new generation is coming of age in DC. They are too young to remember the terror of Edmonds' reign, the palpable fear that hung in the air. But they are growing up in the shadow of his legacy, in communities still grappling with the social and economic fallout of the crack epidemic. Edmonds' release, even to a halfway house, sends a dangerous message. It risks glorifying his past, making him a folk hero to impressionable youth who see only the legend, not the human wreckage he left behind. But despair is not an option. In the face of adversity, we must find the strength to rise above and rebuild. We cannot afford to let the sins of the past dictate our future. The mistakes and injustices that have plagued us must serve as lessons, not shackles. Edmonds' release is a painful reminder, but it is also a call to action. It is a stark reminder of the work that still needs to be done, the battles that still need to be fought. We must seize this moment to confront the systemic issues that allowed his empire to flourish in the first place. Poverty, lack of opportunity, and the despair that fuels addiction. These are the roots of the problem, and they must be addressed with urgency and compassion. We must invest in our youth, provide them with the resources and support they need to thrive. Education, mentorship, and community programs are essential in breaking the cycle of despair. We need to create pathways out of poverty, pathways to hope. By offering job training and educational opportunities, we can empower the next generation to build a brighter future for themselves and their communities. Edmonds' return should not be met with fear, but with a renewed commitment to breaking the cycle of violence and despair. We must show our children that there is another way, a better way, We must build a city where the allure of the streets is eclipsed by the promise of a brighter future. This is our challenge, and we cannot afford to fail.